call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order and ask that we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hope everyone is doing well. A little housekeeping. Please make sure all the microphones are on green and you're talking close to it so the folks that may be watching can hear us. Before we continue with the agenda, I believe Mrs. Gogan has a little surprise for us.
I do. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Impressions and the Pit Band from Bartlett High School. As you know, the students won gold medal, grand champions, and best vocals. Mr. Carney, would you like to give us some information on that?
Good evening. Thank you very much. Get in nice and close. So let me tell you, let me tell you a little bit about competitions. So at the competitions, you're scored and then you're ranked. So and then placed. So the score corresponds with a rank and a place. So every school will get either a gold, silver, or bronze based on their score, and then from there they'll get placed as either grand champion, second place, third place, etc. So this marks the most successful year that Bartlett has ever seen, in the fact that we have 3 grand champions out of the 4 competitions that we're at. So that's a great accomplishment right there. 2 gold medals. Two times best vocal sound and 1 time best choreography. So it was an unbelievable year for these students. I know I say a lot, so I'm going to stick to the script. So as I said, again. So we started off the year at the Central Mass Show Choir Festival in Dudley, received gold medal, best choreography, and grand champions. Tantascwa Show Choir Spectacular, we received a silver medal, best vocal sound, and grand champions. Heart of America Nashville, thank you to the Janet Mauser Humanities Trust for funding, helping fund that trip. We took 3rd place. The New England Show Choir Showdown in Andover, Mass. We received a silver medal and took 4th place. We ended the season this past weekend at the Eastern Show Choir Festival in Waltham, and after taking 4th place, we wanted a little bit of redemption. I knew that there was more that the students could give, and we brought it out of them, and that's when they got the gold medal. We started the year with gold, ended with gold, best vocal sound, and yet again another grand champion. So the last time Impressions received 2 gold medals in 1 season was 2003, and never have we had this many grand championships. So it's been an amazing season. I have a firm belief that given the tools, students can achieve. And this year I wanted to make sure that I was giving the students the tools that they needed. And one of the hardest things to do is to relinquish a little bit of control. And that's what I had to do a little bit. I brought in some people to work with the students, some clinicians who helped work on their choreography, who helped work on their vocal sound. And I think that made the biggest difference, because a lot of the groups that are the most successful bring in people from around the country to help work with them to get them to the next level. And I think they benefited a lot from the experiences that they had with those clinicians. So I thank everyone that was involved in making that happen, especially the Webster Music Boosters, of course. And that's it. I think I'll pass it on to Mr. T.
Thank you. In the beginning of our season, which starts in late November, early December, we spend a lot of time. We have 2 parts of this group. We have the kids that are immediately in front of you that sing and dance, and then we have the kids in the back that are playing instruments. So we have the band and we have the choir. And we spend a lot of time apart for the first half of the year. the vocalists learning their notes and their parts, and they're learning their choreography, and the band is spending a lot of time by themselves working on their parts to making sure that it is as good as possible. And then sometime in the late January, we start working more together, and the rehearsals are spent putting the music with the dance and the vocals. And really, it is a lot of hard work, and sometimes when we get together, it's a lot of unlearning to relearn the right way and to make sure it's the high quality that we want. And throughout that process and throughout the next couple of months of February, March, and then the beginning of April, that's really when things start coming together. And we truly have not just a choir and a band, but that's when we really become the group Bartlett Impressions. So I think one of the great things about not only this experience musically is that we together have created quite a good team of kids, whether they're in the band or whether in their choir, working together to create a great musical experience. And they have done a wonderful job this year. So we want to make sure that we thank them for all their hard work.
We're going to perform a couple songs for you, and they can actually spread back a little bit. Spread it out. I'm going to come over. Take a step forward, front row.
When there's nothing to hold on to but a dream made long ago, and you're fighting for a future no child of yours will know. I can see now how it happens, choosing not to face the facts, holding on to your illusions till they stop you in your tracks. Now my eyes are clear and I stand apart. I can see it all, I can hold it in. It's enough to break your heart. Why not run? Why on earth would you stay when there's nothing left to pray for? Why in God's name would you pray? Just run anywhere. Cause your eyes lift to God, even as you despair. One last hope, one last breath. When there's one thing you would die for, your perspective goes away, and you question your convictions. You get on your knees and pray, but you never knew, or you learn too late, as you have the fight and you have the dream, and it's why you can't see straight. Why not run? Why on earth would you stay when there's nothing left to pray for? Why in God's name would you pray? Just
Thank you very much for having us. I invite you all to come to the spring concert, May 17th at 7 o'clock in the auditorium. Thank you very much for everything.
If I may say, brought me to tears. Totally serious. You are absolutely so much for coming and sharing your talents. The pit band back there too, I know we can't see you. I do want to take a few moments here to publicly thank Mr. Carney and Mr. T for all their hard work and direction and guidance for all of you. Wow, that's really all I can say. I wish I had a Kleenex.
So just quickly, on behalf of the entire school committee, to follow up what Mrs. Gogan said, we are very proud. Is it really hard to sing when you can't dance? When you're used to moving around like crazy? Yeah. But obviously, you guys all did a great job. We're very proud. I know there were a lot of long Tuesday evenings where Mr. Carney, I'm sure, was happy all the time. And he was never getting upset because Connor couldn't remember his dance moves. Not that that would ever happen, but again, on behalf of the committee and the entire town, congratulations. And not to embarrass her, but were you the young woman that painted that beautiful mural on the wall?
Yeah, I was a part of it.
Well, thank you very much. I know that meant a lot to the police department and Officer Johnson's family, so it was a beautiful mural. So, any other comments from the committee? No?
If we danced, you would have needed a new projector. That thing looks expensive, so.
We appreciate you coming and sharing your talents. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
They got excited on the bus.
No, I went over a bump. I would have blamed Mr. T.
That's what I would have got to, so. Mass Pike is not good shape.
That is an understatement. As they're wrapping up, thank you, Mrs. Gogan, for once again that wonderful surprise. There's nothing better than starting our sometimes boring meetings with probably, what, 50 kids in our room
I
singing
think
and
48.
dancing and playing?
They were very talented, very powerful.
Yeah, they were really good. So unfortunately, we do have to continue with our somewhat mundane meeting. And moving on with our agenda, the first item on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve our March 28th, 2018 minutes.
Mr. Hurton.
Mr. Shenevert.
One quick correction, though. It says Mr. McCara was present and absent. If you could just change that to Member Hurton.
Wow, you can
That's
be.
hard to pull off.
You're good, Mike. 18 years, you put it in. Other than that, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 27th, 2018.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you pull the committee, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Good evening once again, Mrs. Gogan.
Thank you. I have a number of things to share with the committee tonight. As some of you may know, the Empty Bowls event happened on Friday night, and I'm sure Elaise is going to speak a little bit about that in her report. I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Harrington and Mrs. G and all their students for putting together a wonderful service learning project, and I won't say any more. I do want to inform the school committee, which you are informed, that we did have an incident at the high school last week, which involved the Webster Police, the Auburn Police, and the Dudley Police, and the Massachusetts Environmental Police and dogs. I'm pleased to thank them publicly for their collaborative and quick efforts to come to the high school. The high school was in a hold down, hold in place for a while we searched the school, and everything was fine. And I wanted to let you know how important it is for our school to be working closely with the police, and their response was very quick, and within, a half hour, the police from Auburn and Dudley were here, and I was grateful, very grateful. I'm still recuperating from the songs. I really was crying. I hate to say it, but it was pretty powerful for me. I would like to let you know that we continue to provide professional development for our teachers and staff, and on Monday, April 2nd, we held a workshop for administrators on school discipline and manifestation determination process. We had attorney Alina Cantor come and work with all of our principals and assistant principals and district level administrators. I'm also pleased to let you know that I heard from Tina Grozalski. She informed me that the Board of Health passed the regulations in Webster supporting restriction of the sale of flavored tobacco products. So the letters that we all wrote helped. I'm also, on Tina's behalf, would like to share that there will be a special film presentation on suicide, the ripple effects, at the Blackstone Valley Cinema on May 9th. At 7:30, this is a movie about a story of a 19-year-old who attempted to take his own life, but was not successful, and now uses his story to help others. So if anyone who is watching and looking for more information on that, you can contact Tavy Augusto at taevy@me.com. That's taevy.at me.com. And we've had it's an extremely busy time of the year in the schools. We have MCAS testing going on, but we have a number of other curriculum assessment and instruction things happening. As you know, our focus is to really take a deeper look at the programming in place. And now that we have a new director of curriculum for math and science to accompany our director of curriculum with literacy, I've been keeping them very busy. And just in the last week, we've reviewed illustrative math for grades 6 through 9. We reviewed ELA, the sister of the reading program of Wonders for grades 6 through 12. We've reviewed Ready Math and My Math. We've also reviewed assessments, reviewing iReady, Act Aspire, and Glencoe. And we've reviewed another program called Math Glencoe and Agile Math. And when I say we, this is not just the administrative team. We've put together committees of teachers to take a look at the math. Voluntarily, teachers have joined these committees. We've also put together separate teachers for the assessments. We haven't come to any conclusions. When we do, we will bring that information to you. But I'm very pleased at the level of interest in our teachers to participate on these committees, and the level of excitement of taking the steps to change some of the things that we have. Sometimes there's resistance in schools, but for the most part, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing that people are ready, willing, and able to participate in assessments and give their feedback, and I think that's very positive. I'd also like to let you know that we've begun meeting around our summer schools programming. We have a number of different summer school programming. The planning has begun. As you know, we are in the process of negotiating with the teachers, and we met twice last week, and we have 3 more meetings scheduled. This past week, we also held a district safety meeting where we debriefed on our lockdown and some of our drills that we've been planning. And as a follow-up to the last meeting that we had, where Representative Joe McKenna and Senator Fatman were with us, Monique and I have met with them to discuss a special project that they were so kind to offer to speak to us about. And that special project that we're talking about is really securing the entryway of Bartlett High School. And so they were very interested in that project, and we are in the process of working with them on that. I also would like to inform the school committee that we do have a new Commissioner of Education. Jeff Riley was sworn in on April 5th. And I'm pleased that the House of Representatives has voted on increasing the circuit breaker to 72%, so that will go to the Senate. So that's good news for us and many schools in Massachusetts. And finally, in this piece of my report, we have been working with BayPath to see when an appropriate date would be to hold an open house at this new location. And we have come up with May 5th. From 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we will be sending out flyers and information to the community and posting that on social media so that we can have a full house here. And as I move on to my personnel update, I'm pleased to inform you that we have hired Maritha Sidebottom as the special education teacher at Webster Middle School. She'll be starting after vacation. And this will allow Rebecca Riccardi to move back to the Bartlett High School starting on that same day, on that Monday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? So hopefully most of the BayPath students will be able to attend. I'm assuming that's why it's being held during the day.
Yes.
Okay,
Monique has checked with BayPath. Yes, I did.
perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is the principal report. Michael Zajac, Principal, Webster Middle School. Good evening, Mr. Zajac.
Good evening. It's been active, been busy. Last month, on March 26th, after a reschedule, the fifth grade had a math night, well attended, over 100 families with their kids doing math problems. So I don't know a better way of spending a night for a math teacher than doing math problems. So it was well attended, and a lot of the work that was done is being displayed in the building, and it was also displayed in the cafeteria. Tomorrow, we'll be scooping ice cream for our honor roll perfect attendance, and what I'm proud to say is that the number of students who are making honors and high honors has increased. Basically, students with all A's and B's. And we have 156 students who will be having ice cream tomorrow. And we also have a perfect attendance. We have 60 students, 10% of our population, who have perfect attendance in the second trimester. So it's always a focus of ours. As you heard, MCAS is here. Teachers, and we've been working on the MCAS preparation. We'll begin our testing at the middle school after vacation because of the timetable. And teachers have been taking kids to do practice tests and also to use what's called TestNav. Online testing presents more challenges because there's tools online that the students have never used before, drag and drop, eliminating choices, rulers, protractors. So the teachers have been taking the students to these sites and allowing them to practice the use of these tools and then applying them to the assessment practice tests. So in preparation for testing, which will occur after vacation. A couple other things, if you have any time tomorrow, we have a science fair going on in the gymnasium. We're going to have till 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We have a number of students who will be presenting their projects. We have a number of staff members who have volunteered to judge. I'm one of them. And we'll be going around, so if you have any time, you want to stop in, they're redoing the whole gymnasium. And I'm proud to say our baseball and softball season will kick off on Friday. They finally got on the field today. I was asking, like, because it's a lot different practicing in a gymnasium than it is to get on a field. And Mr. Stan said, we're getting on the field today because you have to get out there and practice as a team. So it's really exciting. They're going to have their first game Friday, so it'll be a great event. That's it. That concludes it.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Ms.
I'm just wondering if there are any events planned for the 8th graders that will be leaving the school. They've been there since the 3rd grade, so I'm just wondering if there's any events.
There are. They've been approaching me and asking if the Indian Ranch thing is that's still going to go on. All that stuff will occur, of course. That's tradition, and you don't remove those things. So that's still going to occur, definitely. So though the events will be the same at the end of the year as it's done in the past.
All right. I don't know what those are, so.
Well, right now, it's really the Indian Ranch is a big thing. They're talking about a semi-formal, which is something that they've done. They did last year, so we'll still look at those things.
Do you hold a graduation ceremony at all?
At Indian Ranch, they do that.
That's at
They
Indian
invite-
Ranch.
They invite families and they come there and do the ceremony there. It's very informal. It's not a, dress up and that. It's more just enjoy themselves and get together.
Through Mrs. Gogan, can you just make sure we know when that is? Thank you. Do you recall when the science fair is starting? You said it's ending at 8.
2:30,
Oh, it starts at 2:30
yes.
and it goes till 8 o'clock?
Yes, because there were several blocks of time that judges had to sign up for.
Oh,
It's,
okay. You're just realizing that, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, it's on for a while, so,
Okay.
yeah, so we have.
So if we want to pop in, it's
Oh.
literally anytime between 2:30 and
Yeah,
8.
yeah, it's gonna be open. The gymnasium's being redone and they'll be on display.
And then where are the softball and baseball teams playing? Are they playing here?
On here, that's
So
what my
Mr.
understanding.
Paranto was able to coordinate, obviously, the schedules with the Bartlett team so that,
That was the question, yes. So that schedule's been worked out. So we're gonna have 2 games. It's gonna be exciting.
good. Well, I heard from a bunch of parents that they really did enjoy the math night, and I think you've mentioned being a former math teacher.
I love it.
I know a lot of work went in from your staff,
Yeah, they did that, yes.
and to have 100 families show up to focus on math is a great thing, so congratulations
accomplishment,
to you and your
yeah.
team, so.
And just another thing, the robotics program has really flourished. It's generating more interest. So what's happening is that we actually have a waiting list of kids who want to get in. And so, which is wonderful. It's an exciting thing, so.
Good.
It's great to see them working on it.
Well, once again, I probably say this every time you come before us, but thank you for your efforts, and I know personally I've heard a lot of positive feedback with regards to some of the improvements that have been made, and I know it takes the entire team, but it also takes an effective leader, so thank you.
It's a wonderful community. You got a lot of wonderful kids here and staff. As a principal, I'm very fortunate to have the faculty that I have and the students I have. So it's a partnership.
Good. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the business manager's report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening. Thank you. You should have all received a copy of the budget in your packets. I hope you enjoyed reviewing it as much as I did. It's always fun stuff when you get to go and crunch numbers. I'm not going to go through line by line or page by page. If you have any concerns or anything and I'm past a point, please ask. You'll see some, so on page 1, I don't see any inconsistencies. Everything looks good. The teachers are about 57, 58% through the year in their pay, and weekly is about 78% through the year. We are approximately 73% through the school year as far as student days as of last Friday. So we appear to be right on target. If you want to flip through page 2, you only see one deficit on that page, and that's in sublines. You're going to see some sublines that are, have deficits, but some that have hefty balances in them. So they kind of offset each other, but right now it looks like I think we are on target with our subs. Going through there, I don't see any problems. Page 3 looks good. Page 4, you'll see an electricity account there in the deficit. We have been working with Town Administrator Doug Willitson, reallocating net metering credits. This account hadn't been receiving any credits, but they were credits sitting on the books on old accounts or accounts that weren't being used. So they have to file a Schedule Z, which is something they're allowed to file once or twice a year. And when it was originally done, it really spread the credits out through accounts that really weren't even active. Some weren't active, some they weren't evenly distributed. So we sat down, we reviewed all the credits, and we allocated some, and we did update our Schedule Z. So we're hoping April, May, we'll start seeing some credits coming in and offsetting that account. But you'll see other accounts in the other schools where we're going to have balances in our utilities accounts because we're receiving those credits already in those accounts. And page 5, Park Ave, total, everything looks good there. At the middle school again, page 6, 7, 8, 9, no concerns at all. You'll see on page 10, you'll see electricity account with some balances there that we're hoping that we'll get into the season with some surpluses to offset the other ones, the other accounts there at Park Ave. And an area of concern, we'll look on page 11, is maintenance. Maintenance is starting to creep up a little bit more at the middle school, the building, 2005. We're already 13 years into the building, and things are starting to need to be replaced or maintained and repaired. So we just keep an eye on certain things as we move forward. But as you can see from that, and I know I have a couple bills out there for some issues we've had. We had an issue with our alarm at the middle school. We had some wire underground that was broken, so we had to refeed some wire, and that took some testing and stuff. So I have a couple of things out there that I'm expecting in. But it's just an area to start keeping an eye out and make sure that we're proactive and we're maintaining our buildings, and things are going to start to see their life pretty soon, and we just got to keep maintaining. If we look at Bartlett, on the first page, you'll see subs, it's not a problem. You'll see longevity. That account line is in the hole because that was a sick leave buyback that wasn't budgeted from last year. So that's something that you'll see a deficit there, $5,500. But we'll be all set with that because I anticipate some salary savings that
Is
we're
that from a
gonna see.
retirement?
Yes, yep. The next page, 13, looks good. 14, you'll see a deficit in paraprofessionals, special needs at the high school. That's real, it's a deficit, but what it is a reallocation of grants. So every year we budget grants and we just kind of carry them over to the next year, not knowing who's actually going to come out of the grant. At the beginning of the year, and they've moved staff around and we get their positions, we apply the grant money to special ed staff depending on their role. So that's just really a reallocating of funds. There's other accounts that have surpluses because the grants haven't been applied yet. 15, everything looks good there. 16 also. 17, dues is a little bit in the minus under athletic dues. That's because we have additional sports programs now at the middle school, so we're paying, our fees went up on that. And then if you look at maintenance down below, the good news is if you look at the electricity account, we're seeing a pretty good surplus there because they've been having some heavy credits there. But if you scroll down, you see maintenance is already in the deficit, and we still have a few months left. This is a big area of concern for me. We have, as you know, for the last 6 years, been submitting an SOI, and we've kind of just been repairing items in the district as they break. And now we're seeing an increase in problems with our boilers and things that are happening. And I don't know how long we're going to be able to hold out. We're either going to have to decide that, we've been waiting for the SOI because that's a complete renovation, and the reimbursement on that would be about 74, I think, %. You have a question?
I do.
I can see the eyes.
So in the event of an unexpected catastrophic issue like that, like the whole boiler goes, and let's say it costs $50,000, what is the state regulation? Are we allowed to, in an emergency standpoint, take money from, for instance, free cash or something within the town coffers and then ask for the reimbursement at town meeting?
If it was an emergency repair, we could do an emergency repair, but we couldn't go take free cash and then ask.
So how would we pay for that emergency
We'd have to go
repair?
to the town and say, either go over budget in our budget and try and recoup after, but we couldn't just hit a town account without permission first.
Okay.
And we could see, sometimes insurance, depending on the issue, would cover.
Right.
What we're seeing now is just wear and tear on the boilers. They're 40-something years old. Pieces are starting to rot out and rust and leaky, and then every time you need to fix one of those sections, it's about $8,000 to $9,000 per section. And each boiler has 44 sections, and there's 2 of them. So there's
8,000 per section?
Yes. So we have 2 boilers.
You shouldn't be telling us these things now.
Things I learn.
We did meet with the town administrator today to talk a little bit about this, because we do need a plan, regardless of, what if we don't get the building project.
Right.
There's only so long we can put a Band-Aid on
Because
fixes.
as we've said before, it's a town issue. It's not a school district budget
Absolutely.
issue. And we talked about it, I think, briefly at our tri-committee meeting. And I think last night Doug mentioned possibly another one in June to discuss further what to do with FY20. But, you know, it's something that obviously the town needs to plan, not just the school district.
Absolutely. So this is an area of concern that we really need to keep a close eye on. We need to, you know, we're doing the best we can, we're maintaining, but some of these things have just beyond their age, and there's nothing we can do about it.
One final question on maintenance. I know we had to use a lot of the money from the facilities rental revolving account. Do you have any sense what the balance currently is on that?
Last I looked, it was about $25,000.
Okay, because that, Mr. Avalos and I would agree, that was always kind of our quote-unquote emergency fund.
Right.
Obviously, that was depleted significantly, which was for a good purpose, which was finalizing this space, but
Yep.
without that, it's even more concerning.
Absolutely. And currently, right now, I think that's 25 with anticipated revenue coming in, and I don't have anything really scheduled throughout the end of the year. And once, you know, dance recitals is always a
Right,
big revenue for us, and those aren't happening until
but the
June.
big rental payment already came in?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So, okay, if you want to turn to page 18, this is another area of concern for us. This is something we've been closely monitoring this year, and we've sat down over the past week and met with Ms. Kathleen Barris, Director of Student Services, to review these. Currently, we are, if you were to take all our actuals and encumbrances, the projected look is about $784,000 deficit that you see right here. Now, that's not taken into account the circuit breaker funds that we applied. We have budgeted $584,787 in circuit breaker to be applied to offset. So that's still going to leave us a deficit of about $200,000 in our special education lines. If we were to not have any surplus funds at the end of the year and have to use up our circuit breaker funds, that would only leave us about $100,000 left in our FY18 circuit breaker to carry over. And then we'll have our FY19, which we typically level fund, so it would be another 584. But typically, you like to carry over 1 year's worth of circuit breaker.
Right.
As you can see, we're not even close to that. We're at about 20% if we use those funds to carry over, which, you know, could be a challenge, because next year we taken into account 584,000 budgeted to use in circuit breaker next year. So going into 20, we would only have about 100,000 if everything's status quo and budgets come in on time. I'm hopeful that, you know, my goal would be to try and recoup some of that deficit with savings and utilities. We did have some salary savings this year, so I'm hopeful that, you know, we'll be able to really put a dent and offset. My recommendation would be we save as much in the budget and offset without touching circuit breaker, because you don't know what's going to happen down the road or what we're going to take in as far as additional tuitions or anything. But I'm encouraged that we're going to see some significant salary savings this year. At my initial look, we've had some positions that we didn't fill at the beginning of the year. You know, curriculum position, we had an ELL position that we didn't fill right away. It took us a little time to fill the dean. So we had one position that we've seen, you know, some significant savings in where, you know, the salaries were at two ends of the spectrum. So we've had a couple of those. So I'm hopeful that, you know, we're going to see some salary savings. It's not going to be enough to cover the whole deficit, but maybe between that, utilities and other line items, I can come close, which is my hope.
Do you know if the year-to-date is similar to years past? So if you take the first 3 quarters of years past, obviously my question is, has our special ed expenses significantly increased in this fiscal year compared to years past? And you may not have that information with you, but.
Just from my experience, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe we've seen,
I
even
don't
over the
remember it
summer,
being this
we had
bad.
we've had some move-ins and some take-ins over the summer that were pretty high, that weren't cheap tuitions.
Okay.
So, when you get one, even if you're paying a partial year, and a partial year is $80,000 for one student, that's a big ticket item.
And then obviously, if the legislature can get the reimbursement back up to 75%, we're looking at an
Absolutely.
additional 90,000 for FY19, correct?
Yes,
Which,
if we can get it back up to 75%, because it's about $90,000 for us.
Okay.
So that's an area that we are closely monitoring. And then the rest of the budget looks pretty good. No real concerns. If you turn to page 21, again, utilities, we see some overage there. That's because we anticipated moving in here sooner than we did. So we were in Filmer with the heat running and cranking up until February break. I'm happy to say we won't have any more utility charges because the boiler's not running because we had a leak, so we just shut it down. So that's going to save us some money throughout the end of the year. But overall, I think we're on target. We're keeping track of some things, but I am hopeful that we will be on track at the end of the year.
any questions or comments from the committee?
No.
Probably like a lot of people, the first thing I go to is go to the last line, 70%, aside from the special ed, which on budget's only 110%,
Correct.
but we're only 3/4 of the way through the year.
Mhm.
But obviously, you feel good about
Yeah.
the 70% seems right, a little better than right
Yep.
for this
I
time of
think
year.
we're, because of our salaries, we did have some savings in the utilities and in salary savings this year. So that couldn't have come at a better time, to be honest with you, with the special education, the way it's going. So that's a good offset for us. So I'm happy about that.
And we have to remember, now that you say that, remember we kept getting asked the question, school district never puts money back into free cash. Any additional monies that, and it hasn't been significant, that we've had from our operating budget has always gone back into, I believe, trying to pay off the deficits we had in special ed.
Absolutely. Either we've tried to pick up a little more and save some of our circuit breaker, because we're not rolling over 100% of our circuit breaker.
Right.
We're always rolling over less than that, so we've tried to replenish that in the fund to keep it, to give us that surplus for the event that we have some heavy hitters moving in.
My biggest fear is we get the half-perfect storm in FY20, because with the projections that we saw from the town administrator, and with our fund that low, we may have to come up with money from the operating budget to pay for FY21 potential expenses. At the same time, we're looking at potentially significant cuts.
So the topic of an override was discussed today with the town administrator, given the projections that he did share with us at the Tri-Town Committee. And, I think it's important that the community knows that it wouldn't just be for the school. I think the town has issues as well that we need, in order to build Webster to where we want it to be, we need the support of the community.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the third quarter budget review? And then you have an additional item, I believe.
Yep, just, we have our scheduled public hearing for April 24th. That'll be coming up at the next meeting, scheduled at 7 o'clock here. So if anybody has any questions about the budget or any information, please come out. That's the time to ask those questions so we can answer them all. It's a little better if they come to a public hearing and ask these questions than be on town meeting floor, trying to bring up all these things where this is why we hold the hearings, for people to come and ask questions. So please come down and ask away. We'll be ready to answer.
And again, for those that might be watching, our new room is in the rear section of Bartlett, close to the loading docks. You enter through the new admin space, and it will be April 24th at 7 o'clock. And anybody in the community can ask any question or make any comment they want regarding the budget. So,
And just another update, I did mention Filmer. We are probably about 90% cleaned out of Filmer. We have boxes that need to be picked up by the shredding company and still a few things that need to be moved. The town manager, we spoke with him today. He's been having a lot of inquiries about the building, so we gave him a set of keys so he can take a walk through, and if down the road he's going to need to bring people in, he can do that. But we are right on target for the Maytown meeting, and we are looking to get Fillmore off our hands and be out of there. But I'm hoping maybe by the end of February break, we'll be done.
It's an interesting article they've added to the warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Yep.
see that?
I've talked to him. I've talked to him about it. And then I just want to give a shout out to our custodians. Once again, they have been working diligently, cleaning that building out. There were a lot of years worth of stuff down there. And it's not the prettiest and cleanest area down there. And there's stairs, there's no elevators. So they are lifting, they are carrying up and down stairs. And David Anise, Al Young, Herbie Hopkins, Jim Rakowski, they have all gone above and beyond with assistance. Anytime we need something moved, anytime I need something, John Preisler, he's been there picking away during the week, cleaning out in his mornings. They have been fantastic, and I can't thank them enough. David has kind of taken the lead on things and scheduling. It's been a huge load off of me with them taking the lead, so I can't thank them enough. They deserve well done. Next time you see them, please say something to them, because they're working hard.
Well, Elise had told me at the beginning of the meeting she would volunteer to go to the basement of Fillmore and help move things.
You don't want to go down there.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Gogan, did you have something to
I
add?
just said, you don't want to go down there.
It's a scary place.
Which is why we moved,
Yeah.
fortunately, finally. Any other questions or comments from Mrs. Perangeli? Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is my favorite part of the meeting, the student update, Layes Napoli. Good evening.
So Q3 is coming to a close. I have mixed feelings about it, but we're in the home stretch, so it's pretty exciting. There has been a Teach the Teacher epidemic at Bartlett High School. Ms. Colson's Anatomy and Physiology and AP Bio students have been educating their teachers on the topics they're learning about in class. I know that AP Bio did a virus project, and they were teaching their teachers about that. And the anatomy class, we did a brain hat project. And I doubt you can get 3 tweets down on Twitter without scrolling past a picture of a student with a teacher holding up some wacky project and smiling. There was a QCC representative at Bartlett. Her name was Sabine Depew. She was great. There was an info session in the fishbowl for any students interested in attending, and then following that presentation, there were one-on-one meetings with her, which were very helpful in case students didn't feel comfortable asking certain questions in front of every other student. And any questions regarding the application process and all that were answered. And the Jelena Scholarship, which is the most generous scholarship available in the guidance office at this time, is due this Friday for any seniors that are applying for it. The Empty Bowls event was held in the cafeteria to benefit the Webster Dudley Food Share, and $3,000 were raised. And there was a sweet deal where if you brought a canned good or a non-perishable good, you got $5 off, and 2 shopping carts full of goods were gathered that night. So that's really great. Mr. T told me that. The first sign language club meeting was held Monday after school in Ms. Colson's room. There was a health career expo at Holy Cross. There was a field trip there last week, and it was well attended. I heard good things about it. Guest forms for anybody taking an outside guest to prom are available with Ms. Nassis, and they have to be submitted by May 4th, along with Corey forms for anybody over the age of 18 that will be, anybody graduated, I think, that will be attending prom. And those are available in the superintendent's office, and they have to be completed by May 1st. There was a unified basketball sign-up on April 5th at all lunches. Was being held, and there's going to be a free presentation conducted by Nichols College students and administration on NCAA rules and regulations and the recruiting process in the auditorium on Wednesday the 11th at 7 in the morning. The mural in memory of Officer Johnson has been finalized. It's really pretty. It's a really nice butterfly. And Monday morning, the students were held in the cafeteria. We were thanked for cooperating with the very extensive hold-in place. And we were spoken to about the bullet incident. We were informed that there were students contacting parents and parents contacting the school about being afraid and not knowing what was going on. And Mr. Tracy told us that for future reference, like in case of another situation like that, that they would send out an email the same way they do an all call, kind of like an all email to all the students, letting them know what's going on and not keeping us in the dark because there were complaints about it. And I'd like to extend my congratulations again to the show choir on all their achievements and everything this year. Like, they did a really great job. I have friends, my brothers in the team, in the group.
Was he here tonight?
Yeah, he was.
You should have pointed him out.
Oh, I didn't want to embarrass him. And this was their best season in the last 15 years, and that's huge.
It's all because of your brother, right?
Only because of him. Connor Brennan and Alejandro Espino attended the State House on Student Government Day to represent Bartlett High School, so congratulations to them. Webster Pride.
Yeah.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Lays? I just want to do a final shout out to Deputy Chief Shaw and the entire police department for the escort that a little birdie told me he may have been involved in coordinating that. But I think it was a wonderful gesture to the show choir kids, and I guess they got so excited that they might have slightly damaged the trophy, but in a good way. But again, thank you to him and the police officers for escorting the kids in the town. That was very nice. And thank you for your report. Moving on, next item under old business is the monthly fundraising report. Again, per school committee policy, we receive an update to all the fundraising events that have occurred in the last month. We have copies of those. I will not go through all of them unless any of the members have specific questions, but we have fundraising activities from the class of 2019, several from the Bon Voyage Travel Club, which I believe is the group raising money for the students traveling to Europe next year, Bartlett Drama Club, and the Webster Education Foundation. Again, all of these fundraising applications/events are on our website under, fundraising calendar, perfectly. Any questions? Did I forget anything, Mrs. Gogan?
No.
Any questions or comments from the committee regarding the monthly fundraising report? Hearing none, moving on to new business. As a reminder, it is school committee policy that any time there is a new policy and/or a revision to an existing policy, we do go through 3 readings, which means the policy is literally read and presented at 3 meetings. Obviously, if any members have any questions at any time during those 3 meetings, ask and the discussion would occur, and then potentially the policy would be revised. And then we will vote at the 3rd meeting, assuming there aren't any issues at that time. So we do have several items or several policies that appear to need to be revised. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Gogan.
Thank you. The Pregnant Workers Fairness Act was issued January 23rd, 2018. And the act protects pregnant people. And the policies before you, Policy AC on non-discrimination, Policy GBA, Equal Employment Opportunity, Policy GCF, Professional Staff Hiring, and Policy GB, Equal Education Opportunities, are existing policies in our district. And the only thing that's been added is the disclaimer that we will not discriminate based on pregnancy or pregnancy-related conditions in each of these policies. They may or may not be highlighted for you. In the first AC, it's in the last paragraph. In GBA, it's in the middle of the paragraph.
Actually, we have to take one at a time.
I know.
Okay.
I was just pointing it out. Go ahead. It's all there.
So any questions regarding the change to policy AC non-discrimination? Hearing none, this will constitute the first reading of the amended policy. Next item is the first reading of policy GBA, Equal Employment Opportunity. And again, same language as the first one, related to pregnancy or pregnancy-related conditions. Any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, this will constitute the first reading of the amended policy GBA, Equal Employment Opportunity. Next item on the agenda is first reading policy GCF professional staff hiring. Again, I'm adding the language pregnancy or pregnancy-related conditions to the protected classes. Any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, this will constitute the first reading of policy GCF professional staff hiring as amended. And then the last item under new business is first reading policy JB, equal employment opportunities. Again, adding the language pregnancy or pregnancy-related conditions. Any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, that will constitute the first reading of policy JB, equal employment opportunities.
Chairman Hertman?
Yes.
If I may just add while you're still talking about this, I do want the committee to know that we already have great procedures in place regarding pregnant staff. And kind of coincidentally, we received a shout out, and I won't tell you who it's from, but I will read it to you because I think it's important that you know that we are very respectful of our staff. Just wanted to send out a shout out to the district and my teams at the time that I was able to successfully nurse, pump for all 3 of my children up until their first birthday while teaching in this district. It was important for me to be able to do this personally, and I was supported both with coverage in the classroom and understanding by my colleagues. So this shout out was sent to us just recently, and I think that's important for you to know.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions regarding all the first readings? Hearing none, we will move on to review, transfer, signing of bills, payroll, and vouchers. We do have a request from the Webster Middle School, and I will entertain a motion to transfer $6,587.57 from the Webster Middle School Student Activity Savings Account to the Webster Middle School Student Activity Checking Account.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Motion to adjourn?
There's a motion and a second. Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, meeting adjourned.